Hello and welcome to this special election show on Karnataka. As you know that Karnataka is going for polls on May 5th this year, and we are here in the city of Bangalore and bringing to you this special show. As you know that in Karnataka elections, citizens, it seems, apart from the whole political arena, are trying to play an active role, and we are saying here in this show that our citizens actually setting the agenda for good governance, and we have a very eminent panel right here with me on this show. Professor K. Radhakrishnan, he is from the Congress party here in Karnataka. Ashwin Mahesh is from the Loksatta party. Sujata Puranik, she's member of Bengaluru Political Action Committee, very active there. Vivek Reddy is from the BJP-Karnataka. So let me start with you, Mr. Reddy. First of all, since two political party representatives are here, why do you think people should vote this time for your party?
Well, it's because of the development agenda that our party has scripted the past 5 years. We have, the achievements are phenomenal. We are the first party to bring in a 1 lakh crore budget in the state of Karnataka. We have bifurcated the budgets between the normal budget and the agricultural budget, the first party in this country, the first government in this country. And apart from this, we have brought in a lot of money for the purposes of development and achieved that development over these years. Almost about 16 irrigation sector different projects that have been achieved. We have increased the electricity generation of this state almost 25%.
Let me take you from the one word that you've used, money, yes. And that's where I think the problem arose also, and I would take it to Professor Radhakrishnan.
So let me just complete. And because of all this, this development, the agenda that we had sought and achieved over all these years, apart from that, there is phenomenal strides in the sphere of infrastructure and in agriculture. And Karnataka is the state which has also maintained a very disciplined fiscal limit under the Fiscal Management Act, which is 3.3%, this Fiscal Management Act 2000. And we have achieved all this out of our fiscal discipline.
Professor Radhakrishnan.
What do I say? I say that the people should vote for Congress this time. I would request them to vote for Congress because for the last 8 years, Karnataka has witnessed almost non-governance. Karnataka has witnessed all-round failure of law and order, and especially Bengaluru. It has become unsafe for the single individuals if they are old. The crime rate is increasing. There are assaults on women and children all around. Apart from that, if it is an aberration of non-performance of the government, I would say the BJP government, there is a saying that you make use of the state for your personal purposes. You make use of the state resources illegally to get into the state and capture the power, the state, and then ultimately make the state to suffer. I wouldn't say they destroy the state. Whatever may be the achievements of the BJP government, the mining scam, the denotification scam, apart from that, apart from the scams, I'm not talking only about the scams, the mutual bickerings for the last 3 years the state has witnessed. And the 3 chief ministers, accusations, and yesterday also we saw some accusation. The accusations against the topmost leaders of the party, and especially in Karnataka, the mutual bickerings which started with the pilgrimage to...
I think that's where I would like to take you to other panelists.
No, just a minute, complete the sentence. And therefore, people of Karnataka maybe now want to have a change. What is that change? Change that one party government for 5 years. Stability is the #1 issue. They would also expect a clean government. They would expect a clean government and a stable government. And therefore, I hope that the electorate, rightly you said, that citizens should set an agenda. Not do they.
And
they
that's
should
why
set an agenda.
That's why Professor Radhakrishnan, something like Bangalore Political Action Committee came up. Mr. Puranik, how would you really look at this space that you're trying to fill?
Sure. I think Bangalore is in the unique position of having a very large number of its electorate, 40%, as much as 40%, belonging to the urban educated category. Now, unfortunately, this is the category that also does not come out and vote a lot. Now, so Bangalore Political Action Committee has as part of its agenda, first of all, to motivate and inspire this urban educated vote voter to come out and vote. And in order to do that, that kind of voter requires information, requires to be data driven. And we will provide them data on the candidates that are standing from the different constituencies, the track records of those candidates, if they have already been in, in power, or if they have achieved something for the social causes. We will actually try and present to them what we think ought to be Bangalore's agenda for governance, whether it is in the area of law and order, as he was saying, or whether it is in the area of garbage disposal or infrastructure. There are so many things that Bangalore needs.
And that's what Loksatta party says, problem solving methods. So how would you look at this election?
See, on the ground, if you ask people whether they want to change, they will say yes. But they will also say, with due respect to what you said, sir, that the Congress is not the alternative to the BJP. This is more like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. That between the two, you're not going to get one very different from the other. Fundamentally, what do people want? They want to be able to better their own lives through their own initiatives and efforts as well. They want the government to assist wherever they are not able to do this on their own. And they want public spaces, public infrastructure, and all of these things that constitute, the commons, to be of a certain minimum threshold at least, so that it does not interfere with their development. Today they've reached a situation where the government and its activities are almost antagonistic to the development of the people, rather than facilitating their development.
So that's a very good point where I would like to take
it as antagonistic, because Ashwin, Mahesh may be looking at a specified local problem which may have hung on for some time. But if you take the larger picture, the panoramic view, and you see the development that the state has achieved over the past 5 years, the achievements are phenomenal. And if you have to look at the data, believe me, in terms of the financial output of the state, in the services sector, for example, the Karnataka has been one of the biggest states which is contributing to the export of services, particularly software. We contribute, our share is about 38% of the total.
What's the government's contribution?
Total export, facilitating the atmosphere, creating the atmosphere for the environment for investments.
So where are the problems, Professor Radhakrishnan? I mean, if everything is so fine, so where, three of you would look at the problem?
The problem is not that fine. Now, our service sector has improved in spite of the government. It is in spite of the government. It is the service sector which has improved. It is the service sector with their perceptions and commitments for progress, they have done it. And therefore, I would not say that I would take a credit for their performance. The government's job is actually the basic job of a government, the basic job of the responsibility of the government is law and order, establishment of law and order. It is actually, I would say, I can even quote our scriptures, the basic responsibility of any government is to give safety and establish law and order.
Well, I guess our safety record is much better than the Congress's safety record.
In a welfare state, what happened? In a welfare state, what would happen?
No, but some of the recent incidents, if I may look at that also, and here I would like to take your view, Ms. Puranik, the women's safety, which is one of the issues nationally. In fact, it's a very, very big issue, and in Karnataka also, we saw certain problems. So how would you really look at that problem getting addressed?
I think that's why I keep coming back to Bangalore, that the governance for Bangalore is really where the Bangalore Political Action Committee wants to play a very large role, and we definitely want to see that the track record of safety that we would like to present to the audience and to the voting audience, voting public, is such that they say, okay, I think in this constituency, this party has done very well in the area of law and order, and and these are the candidates that we believe we can trust with the law and order issues of Bangalore. So that is the kind of thing that we would like to do.
Professor Radhakrishnan said, coming back, that in spite of the government there is development. No, you cannot disregard the fact that in 2011 the government brought in a slew of measures called the hardware policy, the software policy, the semiconductor policy, and the development, the planned development in these spheres is in terms of these policies. That's why we see this.
Yeah, the big question would be that why then this is not going to the people for whom actually everything is woven and meant for. So we are going for a very short break right now. We'll come back very shortly and then we'll discuss all these issues with the panelists out here. You're watching this special show on Karnataka elections. We are talking about the citizens' role, and I was just saying that before we went to the break, Mr. Reddy was talking about all these things that the government has done, but why this disconnect, and where would you say that finally it's not actually reaching down to the people and they seem to be agitated finally?
The problem is like this. When cities reach a certain size, the complexity of the problems is such that you can't solve them simply by spending money. And you can't solve them simply by setting up certain programs. You need a problem-solving society in which stakeholders at different levels of government, citizens in their neighborhoods, people in their ward committees, the city leaders in their respective council roles and standing committees, and if the mayor is meaningful, then at the level of the mayor, and so on and so forth. All these different stakeholders have to play a role in positive outcomes.
Professor Radhakrishnan, do you really want to work with the people in this sense? That's something that we are going to see here because of interventions like from the B-PAC.
That's a very interesting question. Every political party will have to work with the people.
In the true sense.
In the true sense. And it's absolutely will have to work with the people. And should be participants along with the people. It's a participatory democracy. Now who participates? The people as well as the political party. If the political party doesn't participate with the people, it becomes, people will teach it a lesson. People will not accept it. And every political party's agenda is to work along with the people. And how do you work along with the people? Rightly Mahesh said that.
But when the people feel actually that they are not really participating, there is only, let's say for example you talked about, and money going only to the few, to the system, and not really getting expanded widely for the system, that's where the problem, you know what I mean is the problem.
More than the money being distributed, we are really not on that. What Ashwin says is right. The participation of citizens in the activities of urban governance and gives it greater clarity and gives it greater focus, and that will enable, definitely that will enable.
But traditionally that's not what is happening, and I would really talk about the problems that the party is facing right now.
Let me tell you why. Believe me, the citizens of the city are not always as encouraging in their participation, as involved in their participation, or as committed in their participation as Ashwin would envisage. But there are good, devoted citizens.
Aren't people questioning, let's say, corrupt practices?
People are questioning.
Money only for the few, people are questioning.
See, now there are ward committees that have to be organized in every ward. This involves citizen participation. Now, throughout India, don't even take Karnataka as an example. Throughout India, we have seen a lot of reluctance in actual participation in these ward committees.
So you didn't even set up the ward committee.
Well, let me just tell you, that is why I told you the picture throughout India. And this situation, actually, the reluctance and the indifference of citizens, I don't think it is it exists to that scale now. But definitely we have seen that there is a reduced form of an involvement.
Do you
of course,
think
there are variations. There are some organizations.
But do you think B-PAC can actually change that? Are you hopeful that you will really make
very categorically that the whole idea of B-PAC is to create a platform for citizens to come forward and participate in the political process. I love what Ashwin said a little while ago, that instead of being consumers of democracy, it is time for citizens to wake up and become producers.
But you are saying that you will try and find good candidates. I mean, tell us also, how do you really plan to go about setting things right?
I'll come to that, but I want to make one more point. The vision of B-PAC is really to start doing some crowdsourcing in terms of the governance of a city. If the governance agenda is clear and we can get citizens to participate in making that governance agenda a reality and auditing the performance of different candidates and different entities on the ground, and even, for example, if there are experts in certain areas like infrastructure or garbage disposal or water harvesting, these citizens come forward and volunteer their time or are paid for their time, and they become participants in the whole political process. That would be the ideal situation for everybody to be on their toes and wonderful outcomes to actually happen. And that is what B-PAC stands for,
Regardless of parties, Professor Radhakrishnan, this problem again I would say of money, in terms of candidates, look at how rich they are, the kind of huge amount of wealth that we see attached to each candidate. I mean, finally, how do you look at this new trend, or maybe the trend which is coming before us and through media and other ways?
There may be little exaggeration too, but at the same time, for example, this Krodapati candidates, anybody with 30-40 sites in Bangalore is a Krodapati. He's a Krodapati. The media says Krodapati. When I contested the election, there was even professor was a Krodapati. My site was bought long back. and today it's worth crores. That apart, what do I say that input and output mismatch.
That's what
so
I'm indicating.
One concept, indicator. Input, what is that input? We say we have publicized 1 lakh plus crore budget we have allotted. And then we say the same thing, same budget, same thing. There is an agriculture budget, there is a children budget, there is a health budget, etc., etc. It's part of the same thing. You may give a focus, but it's not that allocation is important. What is important? Have you delivered that? Have you delivered that? Have you delivered that much of money in the given time frame? And even if you have delivered, whether that deliver, for example,
you're saying distribution and management.
You have to build a road. You are building a road, and you are investing about 1 crore of rupees for that particular road. After the completion of the road, make an assessment of the cost of that road. If it is just 70 lakhs or 60 lakhs worth, then 30 lakhs is swallowed. Now that input-output mismatch is there. That's what I call corruption.
That's what I'm sure everybody is looking at this time. And money for the few, money for everybody, that is a big question that will be discussed this time. We are right now going for a very short break. We'll come back very shortly, and you're watching this Karnataka election show right now. You're watching this special show on Karnataka elections, and we have an eminent panel, and we are discussing a whole lot of issues that are involved this time. Mr. Reddy, how would you look at this, again, the big question of how the money is being managed or not managed?
Congress has a tendency of generalizing things. The Congress has to look into the data that has been built into these. And the economic survey of 2013-14 also released before the budget, has quite a lot of figures which are quite significant and which show the development that has taken place in different fields and areas, including agriculture. So it is not that we have just merely allocated and not prioritized. We have prioritized also. And apart from prioritizing, we see that in the results. For example, there are 2,335 kilometers of road laid by the PWD department over the past 5 years, which is a phenomenal achievement. You go to North Karnataka, the roads are good, extremely good roads in North Karnataka. And these things have been lost sight of, let me acknowledge openly also. The first 3 years of our party had a little bit of bickering, and due to the involvement of one of our chief ministers in these activities. So therefore, we found that they ultimately did not.
So do you think there is a diversion in terms of first managing your own political party and then looking at development?
That is why I am telling you this. We are ready to acknowledge that there were some problems and there were some issues, and because of this, though we took great strides in development, there was some problem within the party with respect to our ideals and adherence to our principles. Therefore, at that stage, we found that some people could not adhere to our ideals and principles. So we had to leave them.
It's on record what his own chief minister said about his own PWD minister also. So, you know, it's not about how much money you spent. So let's not get into that. What I'm trying to say is something else. The citizens want objective measurement of what is being done. They want to be able to monitor what is being done. They want to be able to set the agenda for the next round of what should be done. This is what is happening in the cities in particular, maybe more so in the cities than elsewhere. Today, the idea that we simply sit back and get whatever we get from the government is no longer acceptable to very large numbers of citizens. And what you are seeing for the first time in this country is political mobilization to say, if it has to be done politically to get citizens' participation to a much higher plane, then we'll do it. And I think each of the parties in their own respective ways will have to respond to it over time.
I think your charter somewhere addresses some of these issues, Ms. Puranik. So how would you think that there is a path on which you're really treading well?
So, you know, what has happened is that a lot of individuals want to contribute in the political process, but they don't have a platform. And I think really the whole idea of the Bangalore Political Action Committee is to provide such a platform. We intend, and you know, since a lot of technologists are involved in the Bangalore Political Action Committee, we intend to use technology to help to actually mobilize people, to get them to become members of B-PAC, to feed them with all kinds of data, information and insights that they need to make informed decisions about which candidates to vote for based on a checklist which is objective, as Ashwin was saying, which talks about track records, which talks about the aspirations of the people.
Do you think you'll be able to break that apathy which we see generally?
I am very hopeful, because I think people are ready. It's an idea whose time has come. You know, the moment we talk about B-PAC, wherever we have gone and spoken about it, people say, hey, I want to be part of this. This march that we organized recently on the 13th of April, we had some 5,000 people in that march and was put together in a very short period of time. Social media had a large
As
role
Ms.
to play.
Puranik said, the idea was time has come. Do you really think that, because one of the challenges, as we were discussing, would be to take it ahead, such an idea?
Actually, no, because all over the world you find that there are advocacy groups that are allied to political parties and push the agenda through their advocacy and their support for the political party also. This maturity of advocacy has never actually come into the Indian political system. Even sort of so-called labor groups and women groups and all of those, you will have them within the political party. A Congress Mahila group and a BJP Mahila group. You don't actually have a Mahila group. So in a sense, what we're seeing is the maturation of a process by which interest groups, whatever their interests, are saying, we have our agenda of what we want to get done in government. We're going to try to get that done in whichever government comes to power.
Exactly.
And we're going to be advocates of that thing, and we're going to keep pushing. And we're actually going to say, we like certain candidates because they subscribe to this agenda, and we don't like certain candidates who don't back this agenda. So the contestation in the public space is now based on issues and on specific agendas from various
So you really feel that the advantage, you would like to take advantage of the space maybe that you're getting? I mean, the onus actually is very big on you, Professor Radhakrishnan, on your party.
And definitely that responsibility, with a lot of humility, Congress Party will accept. You are right that the responsibility is enormous, and there should be a lot of rethinking about the whole governance, and that would definitely happen. As you rightly said, the pressure for governance develops from within as well as from the people. The people's expectation, it's expectation management of the people. The people's expectations, their agenda. Every political party will have to actually address it, and the Congress Party will definitely have a
But
great
let's look at the party
Right.
itself. Like, you have a problem of plenty of senior leaders, and that's how to kind of manage everybody and get them all along.
We are very happy that we have problem. It's not a problem. We are very happy that we have plenty of leaders. We are very, very happy about it.
No, that
It's
itself,
not the
that itself brings problems.
It
I
does
mean.
not bring the problem. It does not bring the problem. It's not a problem. It can be converted as a strength. What requires is a mutual discussion, etc.
The problem of leadership, actually.
No, it's not the problem of leadership. As you rightly said, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's our strength that we have plenty of leaders. Let us look at that way. And I would like to, my friend, young friend Vivek, who said that the Congress generalizes the issue. I would say that the BJP, I would not answer this, but I should answer, the BJP advertises the issue more. So that settles the matter. But what we are discussing today is that the citizens' participation, citizens pushing an agenda and a government of their choice, the citizens' participation. The apathy we are talking about, the educated people. Now, this country has proved time and again, we are a very vibrant democracy, not only a successful democracy. All of us should agree that we are a vibrant democracy.
We all understand that, but actually in practice there is
in practice
a
it
problem.
happens. No, it's media which is misleading us. In practice, the
Media
people
is
of
very
this,
much with all of you. Media is keeping an
no,
eye.
No.
One endeavor.
This country has proved time and again that the so-called illiterate people are proving more maturity in their
Absolutely.
selection. That we cannot actually undermine and say that our people, we should not cast aspersions on people. Their choices are right. Their choices are right. All of us should accept their choices are right. And the so-called
No,
deals.
but because of this whole eye on transparency, and I would really like to come back again on, people are really demanding in a big way. And if you see, because of the media, and especially in Karnataka this time, social media is playing a very active role. How would you really look at some of the things which should not be done? For example, corruption is a very big issue, and now people are really aware, and they are really kind of coming out and saying, this is what we really don't want.
Absolutely, it should not be there. And if you look at our government, this problem of corruption we faced in the initial stages. But thereafter, after Mr. Sadanand Gowda and Mr. Jagdish Shettar adorned the post of the Chief Minister, they became the Chief Ministers, we have practically removed it. And there are no such situations or problems. But there is one thing which echoes the concerns shown by Ashwin, Mahesh and Madam Puranik, and that is that the endeavor is to put less of government between the citizen and the service delivering authority. Now that endeavor should be achieved by any government, and that's the concern of the citizen. And for that we have done a good task by introducing Sakal with 265 services. Now Sakal in its different forms was with lesser number of services, probably two digit, 45, 50 services in other states. Now 265 services and about 1.75 crore applications decided under Sakal in its short term, short duration. This is one another achievement of the government to remove bureaucracy and to remove government between the citizen and the service
Something
delivery.
like a Loksatta party, how is it going to make a difference, Mr. Mahesh?
Fundamentally, what we bring is a focus on problem solving. We say, and also not on the small issues, not on administrative matters, not on cement and road laying and footpath and all of those things. What are the big deficits in the country today? Children in 7th standard are learning at 2nd standard level. Many who have passed out high school are not able to get jobs. The economy is not creating enough skilling opportunities to absorb all of the people that are coming. The demographic dividend is likely to turn into a demographic nightmare if we don't manage it. These are not things that can be managed by spending money. Problem solving on all of these macro issues requires diligence. It requires an idea of how the outcome is achieved and measurement of whether you're achieving them. And I think that's what Loksatta needs to do, and that's what we can bring.
I think there's so many issues and there's so many points that we can really keep discussing and go on, but there is little time and we have to wrap up. And we were addressing a lot of these issues, and the panelists of course shared their views, and we exchanged a lot of points here. And I'm sure the people this time are looking at the elections very keenly, and as something like B-PAC is trying to do, that citizens now are really trying to intervene in a big way as to what a good government should look like. Thanks for watching this show. Namaskar.